The film opens by explaining the bond between Virgil Cole, a hired gunman, and Everett Hitch, a West Point graduate who realized the Army wasn't for him and sought self-discovery in the Wild West. Their paths crossed when Everett backed Virgil in a gunfight 12 years ago, and since then, they've been inseparable, with Everett playing second fiddle to the notorious Virgil, working as marshal and deputy in various towns. They're skilled gunmen who only draw their weapons when justified, when they're hired to enforce the law in towns overrun by outlaws. Enter Randall Bragg, the influential rancher outside Appaloosa, whose men terrorize the town and impose their own laws. When the current sheriff and his deputies try to arrest 2 of Bragg's men for murder, Bragg takes matters into his own hands, killing all 3 lawmen in front of a young ranch hand. The town leaders hold a meeting with Virgil and Everett, agreeing to Virgil's terms. It's his way or the highway, with no room for negotiation. They have little choice but to comply, and soon after, there's a disturbance in a bar involving 2 of Bragg's men urinating on the floor. Virgil and Everett intervene, warning them to stop or face jail time. When the men refuse and draw their weapons, Virgil kills 2 of them while Everett handles a third who emerges from a side room. The next day, Bragg and his men confront Virgil and Everett in a small bar, offering a form of reconciliation. However, Virgil rejects the offer due to his loyalty to the previous marshal, who was a friend. Tensions escalate, leading to Virgil declaring that weapons are prohibited in the town from that point forward. Meanwhile, Allison French arrives in town with only $1 to her name. Everett notices her first and trails her to a small diner where Virgil is also having breakfast. Both men appear interested in her, but Everett steps aside for Virgil, who seems quite taken with her. When Virgil introduces himself as the city marshal, Allison responds with a smile and flirtation. In return, Virgil offers her a job playing the piano at the local hotel, where she might be able to stay for free. This is the only available work, as she clarifies she's not a prostitute. Back at the law office, Everett and Virgil discuss Allie, as she prefers to be called, with Everett subtly encouraging Virgil to pursue her. They then spot riders on a hill overlooking Appaloosa and decide to investigate. Upon reaching the hill, they have a minor confrontation, during which Virgil strikes one man with his pistol to emphasize that Bragg holds no authority, neither within nor outside the town. In a saloon, Virgil's temper flares as he confronts a rowdy man who swore in Allie's presence. Virgil violently attacks the man, prompting Everett to intervene and stop the altercation. It becomes evident that Virgil possesses a clear sense of right and wrong, unburdened by shades of gray. While he usually remains composed, once upset, he becomes uncontrollable. Later, Everett apologizes to the man and offers him a drink. When questioned by a town elder about Virgil's lack of an apology, Everett clarifies that Virgil isn't one to apologize. He emphasizes that if the town wants protection, they must accept both the good and the bad sides of the man they hired. Time passes, perhaps a day, a week, or more. During breakfast, Allie comes down with Virgil, implying they spent the night together. They announce plans to build a house in town and live together. Everett is visibly surprised and somewhat disappointed that his friend hadn't shared the news, but he offers congratulations and refrains from saying more. The interruption of breakfast occurs when Joe Whitfield enters, claiming he witnessed the killings and is willing to testify. They subject him to cross-examination, ensuring he's prepared for the task. Satisfied with his readiness, they set out to apprehend Bragg. Finding Bragg in an outdoor toilet, they bring him back at gunpoint into town, escorted by his angry yet obedient men. The next phase involves around-the-clock guarding of Bragg, who, unfortunately, shares a cell with Joe. Bragg makes threatening remarks that unsettle the younger man. Meanwhile, the construction of Allie's house progresses slowly. Virgil, unsure how to handle some of her requests, sends Everett over to assist her. Upon Everett's arrival, Allie corners him, kisses him, and, after a brief moment of enjoyment, he gently pushes her away. He clarifies that they are not together, they are both with Virgil. Allie, clearly hurt, asks him to leave. Everett doesn't mention it to Virgil but shares the incident with the Hispanic prostitute he's been seeing. She advises him to be prepared for Allie eventually telling Virgil and the likely negative spin she'll put on it. 2 other lawmen enter the office, mentioning they came with the judge. They offer assistance in watching Bragg, and Virgil expresses gratitude, accepting their help. The Shelton brothers arrive in town, skilled hired guns. While Virgil knows them, unlike him, they take jobs for both legal and illegal purposes. After a brief discussion, Virgil asserts his authority, and the 2 brothers head to the hotel after witnessing Virgil and Allie going for a country picnic in a carriage. The trial commences, with all of the Bragg boys testifying in his favor. However, Joe presents damning evidence against him, and even Bragg's verbose speech afterward fails to save him. After Joe's testimony, the judge advises him to leave town for his own safety. Bragg is sentenced to hang in another city. As Bragg receives his sentence, he locks eyes with the Shelton brothers. During the train journey, everything appears calm until a stop for water refill. Suddenly, the Shelton brothers emerge from a dry riverbed beneath the train, holding Allie captive on a horse. They threaten to harm her unless Bragg is released. Virgil hesitates briefly before conceding to the demand to release Bragg, but under the condition that they release Allie. Frustrated at losing his prisoner, Virgil sets off on foot in pursuit, while Everett returns to town via train to fetch horses. After a day of tracking the Shelton brothers, Bragg, and Allie on foot, Virgil and his group catch up to them on horseback. They encounter a group of approaching Indians, and both Virgil and Everett spot Allie naked in a river with Bragg. Although troubled by the sight, their main concern shifts to the impending ambush by the Indians. As the Indians attack, Virgil and Everett fend them off, causing the death of one of the Indians' horses. Virgil then negotiates a temporary truce with the Shelton brothers until they are out of danger, after which they will address their differences. While on guard duty, Allie approaches Virgil and Everett, expressing her fear and admitting her mistake. When Virgil questions Everett about Allie's fidelity, Everett responds that Allie needs a man. Allie then claims that Everett touched her, but when Virgil questions Everett, he denies it, presenting a different account of what happened. Virgil explicitly states that he believes Everett's version over Allie's. After anticipating an attack, Everett takes Bragg's valuable thoroughbred horse and offers it to the Indians, establishing peace with them as they continue on their journey. They reach a small town where the two brothers and Virgil plan to confront each other. While Virgil and Everett prepare for their showdown, Everett reflects that Allie isn't promiscuous, she simply desires to be the partner of the dominant male. The challenge is that the dominant male can change over time. Virgil emphasizes that despite Allie's nature, he cares for her and wants her. Allie enters, visibly frightened. When the men mention that fear is part of the job, she responds that her constant fear is losing everything and ending up with nothing. Virgil reassures Allie that he'll always be there for her whenever she needs him. As they head towards the stockyards to confront the Shelton brothers, Virgil and Everett discover that the town marshal, to whom they entrusted Bragg, is actually related to the Sheltons. This revelation puts them at a disadvantage, facing 4 opponents instead of 2. In the ensuing confrontation, Virgil shoots one of the brothers and the marshal, while Everett takes down the other brother. However, they miss Bragg, who manages to escape on horseback. Both Everett and Virgil sustain injuries, but they are not life-threatening. Allie rushes to Virgil's side, fearing for his life. Despite their wounds, they eventually complete the construction of the house. Virgil's left knee is permanently damaged, requiring him to wear a brace. Despite the hardships they faced, they find moments of laughter, including reflecting on Allie's mistakes. The town authorities inform them that Bragg received a pardon from the President of the United States, a claim Bragg had made previously but was dismissed as a mere tale by everyone. After some time passes, Bragg returns to town, appearing like a refined gentleman in his stylish suit, claiming to have changed his ways. He purchases and renovates the hotel, but it's unclear if his newfound wealth is acquired through legal means. Bragg attempts to reconcile with Virgil, but Virgil rejects his overtures. Bragg's actions suggest that the town authorities are under his influence, signaling the end of Virgil's tenure as the marshal. Virgil and Everett have a conversation, during which Everett acknowledges that there aren't many opportunities for someone like him in Appaloosa. Despite this, Virgil decides to stay in town because of Allie, although he accepts that Everett may need to move on. Everett observes Allie going upstairs to Bragg's room at the hotel, indicating that she's aware of the power shift. Although she doesn't appear pleased about it, she complies with Bragg's wishes. The following day, Everett presents a necklace to the Hispanic girl and confesses to her about the one man he killed outside the law, expressing disappointment in himself. He declares his intention to leave and takes his horses to the hotel. Entering the bar, Everett places his badge and gun on the counter, indicating they're for Bragg. He then confronts Bragg, punching him and challenging him to a duel. After slapping Bragg and further provoking him, Everett steps outside to await the confrontation. Meanwhile, Everett's companion informs Virgil of Everett's departure, and they both rush to the hotel. Virgil inquires about the situation, but Everett requests him to step aside, emphasizing that he's never asked anything from Virgil before but is doing so now. In a split second, the shootout occurs, resulting in Bragg's death. Everett emerges unharmed and swiftly rides out of Appaloosa. The narrative concludes with Everett's voiceover, explaining his decision to give Allie and Virgil more time to reconcile while he embarks on a journey of self-discovery. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Take care.